Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to The Voiced Opinion here only exclusively on Off the Air Productions. I am your host, JSB, and I'm joined by the lovely Ben Kaysen and the always fearful Jacob Sandoval. That joke is not getting old, and it will never get old. Guys, how are you guys doing tonight? You having a good night so far?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Fantastic. I'm ready to talk about these Oscars. They got me a little bit bugged on some of these things. A little bit bugged, but I'm ready to tell you guys what's up.
Oh, excuse me. I guess I don't get to talk. No, I'm just playing.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead, Mr. Sandoval. Speak your truth.
I am excited to talk about these Oscars. I'm with Ben where there's a couple of them don't make any sense, but ultimately I enjoyed the Oscars this year.
Mm-hmm. Good year for showbiz.
They were definitely good, and I'm really happy with some of the winners. I think they were very deserving, and it's good that some movies that usually aren't given the nods were given some recognition tonight. So I think that's good that we're seeing some different movies win, not the Shape of Waters. God, that was awful.
I almost really forgot about that movie.
Did you guys see it?
I never saw it.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. It was probably the most uncomfortable thing I've ever watched.
So I don't know if you guys are fans of The Office, but do you remember that one episode where Jim and Pam are watching a movie with Andy, and it's where Jack Black falls in love with his girlfriend's grandma? Do you remember this?
Yeah.
That's the feeling I got from like all of the stuff from The Shape of Water.
Oh no.
That was such a wonderful movie. All right, so let's get the big discussion out of the way. Best Picture, the winner was Parasite. What did you guys think of that one real quick? We're not going to go in depth on all of them. We have some definitely topics we want to bring up, but I just wanted us to kind of tell our opinions on the main award.
Well, I haven't seen it. That's the main thing. I haven't seen Parasite, so I can't really get on that much. I've heard that it's a really good movie. So, credit to them. I'm excited to actually go see it. I'm going to go see it this week, I think. But there are some really good movies in the Best Picture category. I picked 1917, which I thought was deserving, as well as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was right there. But Joker, I thought, deserved to be considered. Jojo Rabbit was my sleeper for everything. Honestly, there was a lot of good movies this year, so I can't really pass too much judgment on it because I haven't seen Parasite. From everything I've heard, it's fantastic. So it's really cool to see a foreign language film actually win this award. Never happened before, so I'm excited to see what happens with that and what the future of the Best Picture and everything else is going to be now that we're going to have more of those films from all over the world being considered for these bigger awards.
Yeah, I got to agree with Ben where I am really excited to see what the future brings. And for this award, I was expecting one of my favorite movies. I was really rooting for it. I was rooting for the Marriage Story to win this Oscar, but, it didn't happen. But honestly, I did watch a little YouTube explain how it works or whatever. I forget the name of the video, but it kind of explained what the Parasite movie was about and, and the imagery in it. And it was really fascinating to me. And then seeing it come to the stage of the Oscars and actually win a lot of these awards, it's very impressive. And I told Ben before we started the podcast, I'm definitely Monday night, I'm probably going to go watch that movie because I got to see what all the hoopla's about.
Yeah, I'm probably going to watch it tomorrow too. But it was interesting because my mom watched it and my girlfriend watched it. And my girlfriend loved it. She thought it was fantastic. She was invested the whole time. And my mom, when I asked her what she thought, she said, "That was weird." That's all she said. But I mean, she watched it the whole way, so that's a good sign. That means it kept her attention. Usually, she just falls asleep if she's not enjoying it. But I'm going to watch it soon. I'm really intrigued. I wish I would have watched it earlier, but it's just weird because you don't really think in your free time, hey, I want to watch a foreign movie that I have to read subtitles the whole time. At least personally, that's not what I usually go and watch when I'm just looking for something to put on the TV. Personally, I wanted I thought Parasite was going to win, but I really wanted Ford versus Ferrari to win. I'm a big car guy, and I love that movie. It had so much heart and soul.
It was good.
A really good family story. And I don't know, I really, really enjoyed that movie. It was probably my favorite movie of the year. I loved it. I would have really enjoyed seeing that win, but I think Parasite is a fair winner, and it's really cool for foreign films to be able to take this prestigious award. And like Ben said, we're going to see more of that come in the future. And so moving on now, Joaquin Phoenix actually won Best Actor for his role in The Joker, and I'm really glad this happened. And who would have thought that we would actually see the Best Actor award go to someone who played a character in a superhero movie? Isn't that wild?
It is wild. I don't know if I even really count it as a superhero movie, though, if I'm going to be completely honest. Yeah. It was such a creepy movie, and he did such a good job portraying that creepy character that, honestly, I think it's more of like a character study for, insanity in America and coming through mental illness like this. I mean, that movie was not your conventional take this basic plot and throw some superheroes into it and big CGI buzz it. That was a much more well thought out movie. And I thought that he did a really good job acting in it. And, I was telling Jacob this before we started, that I think did such a good job that for me, watching him give his delivery speech, I think he's a little bit awkward as is, but I mean, I was really creeped out because I could see the Joker in him and all these things he's been doing. That movie really did do a number on me. So that's credit to him. Great actor. I think there's a lot of people who deserved it as well, because I think Jonathan Pryce from The Two Popes, I didn't actually watch that movie, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. Of course, Leonardo DiCaprio is fantastic. Adam Driver is fantastic. And then Antonio Banderas, I didn't know he was even in for it. So he was up there going for it. But for all of these guys, I don't think any of them in that role that they were in matched that haunting ability that Joker had, where, you remember the character, you remember the way he was able to make his body move, stuff like this. It's just kind of a haunting thing that sticks in your memory. And so that's credit to him. Great acting.
And then
it definitely leaves a mark on you.
Yeah, and then Joker also won Best Original Score, and I think that also has to do with the whole point of Joker is like it's this haunting figure, this man who's been beaten down by society finally breaks, and this music that pairs along with it is just haunting and jarring all at the same time. And I think Joaquin Phoenix does a great job just orchestrating it all into his physicality with the role. Because really, like not a whole lot of like big interesting lines. Like maybe the speech during the climax of the film is one of a great piece of dialogue, but most of the acting is just him moving his body. And though I believe the director said Joker has music within him, and he wanted Joaquin to kind of just show that music and, the weird way his body contorts when he's dancing in the bathroom after the subway shooting scene.
Yeah.
Is just super weird and like, crazy movie.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah. There's a lot of traumatized kids who went in thinking they were going to see a normal superhero movie.
Oh man, if that happened to, like, I'm sure it did happen, but parents, you got to screen that. That is not a normal superhero
movie. So let's dive into that discussion, because there was some controversy earlier on this year with Martin Scorsese saying that superhero movies they're not cinema, they're like an amusement ride or a roller coaster. And there's been a lot of debate whether these superhero movies should be nominated for the Oscars or if they should be able to win these awards. What are you guys' take on this topic here?
So here's a hot take, guys. I think that they should be considered for these awards, and I think that they should be towards the top of winning them, specifically Avengers Endgame. Because all those characters, all that story, everyone cares about it. I think we all agree, whether you like Marvel or not, that was a very satisfying ending to the arc. I'm not a Marvel homer, but I mean, if you're talking about the best movies of the year, this movie deserves to be a part of that discussion. That's all I got to say about this. I think that not that it necessarily deserves to win. It depends, but I think it needs to be not disqualified because it's popular. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Now, how do you take it in the fact that you have to have these histories of watching all these other movies to understand it? It's not as a self-contained story as
Toy Story
Ford
4 won an
versus
Oscar.
Ferrari, but like we're talking like Best Picture, right? So let's just say we'll just throw Avengers Endgame into the discussion for Best Picture. Now, is it as equal to compare that to these movies that are contained stories that, you know, you just need to see this one movie to get the full coverage? Is it on the same league as those, with you having to watch all these other movies to kind of understand what's going on? Or do you think that plays a role in anything there?
So for me, I think we kind of have to understand what Scorsese is saying, we got to jump into his mind. Like, the movies he's used to making are about human people. And that's why I think he feels like it's unfair when you take into effect these inhuman people who can provide nonstop action. Because no human being could throw vehicles or jump through portals and whatnot. But he wants to tell human stories through human beings who can portray those stories really, really well. Like, if we look at The Irishman, the one that was nominated this year, it was definitely one of those things where he was trying to tell this human story with the people he had and make it interesting, and kind of just it was so fascinating to me that he said what he said. But then for his mindset, I think he believes that it's a much harder thing to do to make people enjoy a film that doesn't have a whole lot of action, where people love action and are so much drawn to it. But I definitely think he's wrong. I think you definitely need to have an Avenger Endgame. And maybe it's because I'm young, but, you know, I think the acting in most of the Avenger films is really, really well done. And then the action just builds on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for him, he's all like, in his Irishman, he has a bunch of old guys who can't do 1,000 backflips and then swing around and beat people up. And I think that's why he feels like, you know, these aren't real stories being told. They're just fantasies being thrown up in the air.
It's interesting the term you used of like a human story, because I feel like the Avengers, I'm a bit of an Avengers homer, so I'll talk about it real quick. So I think the Avengers does a really good job of, with all of their crazy characters and crazy arcs, of telling these human stories, right? I think that within each of these crazy people that they throw in, I mean, like, if you go look at the fact that you have a relationship building between like Star-Lord and Gamora, and then Gamora's taken away and he's trying to find that love back, and he's dealing with, you know, trying to get revenge for that, or like Thor's lost his entire family. Is a lot of human moments within the Avengers. And I think that's what makes it great. But I want to make something clear. The action in the Avengers is really good. And I think that it's incredible, and it deserves to be considered for a lot of the awards for like design and stuff like that. But I think the actual dialogue and the way the story is built deserves to be up there as well. I don't know. That movie specifically does it for me. But the thing is, not every superhero movie does that for me. Like, Dark Phoenix was released this same year. That movie shouldn't come anywhere close to the Oscars. Same thing to Captain Marvel. No offense, Captain Marvel, but it shouldn't come anywhere close to the Oscars, because
offense to Captain Marvel. Screw that movie.
But the Avengers, I mean, it's one of those movies that it just got a lot of. It's got a lot of really great moments within, really well written, really well designed, and very popular. I don't like that just because it's popular and there's action, that they take it out of the running.
See, usually you guys know that I'm kind of a Marvel critic and a Disney critic, and I'll you know, take any chance I can to, you know, bring it down a notch. But I will give them, you know, their dues when they do good. And Endgame grasps so many people, and these aren't just, you know, superhero fans who have seen every single one of these Marvel movies. They're just everyday people. Yeah, everyday people came and watched it, and they enjoyed it. They didn't have to see all the other movies to enjoy it. And I think that's something very special, and it's something that we don't see a lot. Not a lot of these movies can actually affect this whole entire generation of people, and all different ages, all different backgrounds. They all came to enjoy this movie. And I think that should be considered, when picking out which movies deserve to be Best Picture. So I think it deserves a spot in the Best Picture discussion. But that's probably like one of the only movies from the superhero genre that I'd put up there, really.
I would disagree.
Because
sorry. Go for it.
It's just that, this movie, again, was this big thing. And all the other stories that these superhero movies tell are kind of basic. Now, we're big fans. We enjoy it. And a lot of the other stories, they're basic. But I don't know. It's just something about them to me is just really, really, basic story plots that go one direction. And we know where it's going to go. We know how it's going to end. I don't know. To me, it's an Endgame movie that deserves to be in the Best Picture discussion is a very rare feat. And like I said, I'll give the devil its dues. That movie definitely deserves to be in the Best Picture discussion, but we got to be realistic with the quality of these movies. They're fun movies, but they're not groundbreaking.
Well, and I'll say this, like, to me, it's like, if you're not to like it was last year for Best Picture, Black Panther was nominated. And to me, it's like, why wouldn't you nominate Avengers Endgame, this cultural phenomenon that really was a well-made movie when it came to action, when it came to visual effects, when it came to, I believe, dialogue. Because sometimes, sometimes you have throwaway dialogue in Avengers and superhero movies, but I feel like a lot of the dialogue in this movie was either to have some playful banter between characters, or it was to depict like this distressed situation these individuals are in. And to me, it's like, Black Panther was good, but by no means did they have the same effect on people as Endgame. And I think you could tell that by the box office numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. But the thing with a lot of those, like JSP said, it's very rare to have a movie like there. I actually would do agree with that, because it's got to be incredible to come out of that kind of basic superhero. There's basically like 4 or 5 plots in superhero movies that you can almost always have them follow. It's like a coming together story, a broken up story, a finding your power story. It's just this kind of stuff is very cookie cutter back and forth. But the movie I want to pose to you guys, I think, should have gotten more consideration. And really, I think this movie not only got snubbed from the Oscars, got snubbed from the snub list for the Oscars. Glass came out in 2019. No one's talking about that movie. I loved that movie. That was technically a superhero movie. I think that there is a bias for this Academy about, they're talking about these movies, and it's like, they are superhero movies. We don't want to give it too much clout when it comes to the Oscars. Just like, fine work. These are just making money type things. But I think there are movies that come along that fit that genre that also are some of the best movies of the year, which is what Oscars are going for. I mean, like, if you look at Glass specifically, the acting in that movie, I mean, I don't know how you could not give the guy who plays the Beast, I think, what's his name, James McAvoy? Yeah. I don't know how you can't give him some props for the acting he does. It's incredible. But
yeah, I agree. But
the set design, the colors, stuff like that. I mean, I think that movie deserved a little bit more consideration as well. But for a lot of these movies, I think there's just a bias because I don't think they want to be like, we're selling out to these guys. But, I don't think it's selling out. You're celebrating the best movies.
To me, I really don't know, because I look at the list this year and I don't think there's a single film that doesn't deserve to be up there.
I agree.
And that's why it's hard. Like, they have to choose through a certain amount of films. And I really do not know what they would replace to put Glass up there. I don't know if there's a spot for Glass. Because Glass, I really did enjoy Glass, but I'm not moving any of these movies away from being Oscar worthy because I feel they deserve to be up there. I also think Glass deserves to be up there, but sometimes there's just not enough room.
Yeah. Now, didn't Split get awarded or get nominated for a lot of Oscars for McAvoy's? I'm looking it up now, and it looks like it was nominated for some Golden Globes. Nothing big, but I loved McAvoy's performance in Split and
no
Glass.
Oscar nominations.
I thought it was really, really good, and like Sandoval said, I kind of agree. The movies that they nominated were really good, and there were a lot of really good movies this year. So I don't know if I would move any of them. I would maybe get rid of. I didn't see Little Women. I don't know if it's good.
I did, and it was good.
Oh,
I'll just say it.
Would you replace it with Endgame?
If I was replacing one with Endgame, I would replace Ford versus Ferrari. I'm sorry, Jason.
Really?
Yeah, I would.
Wow.
But I also haven't seen Marriage Story, and I haven't seen Parasite. Obviously, I can't remove Parasite. I watched a little bit of it.
And what'd you think of that?
I watched the first episode of it. Like the joke that they made. I thought it was cool. I'd still like to watch the rest of that. I like gangster stuff. Well done.
It's kind of daunting to go into that. But, I think in the future, we're going to see some more Oscar noms and more awards go to these superhero movies as they become more of a cultural event. Mm-hmm. Like Black Panther, that was a big deal, and we saw that get nominated. So I think as it's going to continue to kind of be this big thing, it's going to get nominated some more. I'd like to see a Star Wars movie nominated, but they got to make a good one first. So get working on that. But yeah, hopefully it'll get nominated for something before the superhero fatigue comes in and the whole entire market crashes. As I've been
that's going to happen
for the past 20 years. One of these days it's going to come true, I swear.
I don't know. I think we're moving more and more that way. We'll see.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the next topic. Now, Ben Kaysen, I heard you have a juicy conspiracy theory to feed to us tonight. You want to get our minds working? Yeah,
so I don't know how many people have been following the Iowa caucuses and what's been going on with the Iowa caucuses. Have you guys been following that at all?
Oh, yeah.
Not too closely.
This isn't going to be a political talk too much, but so last year last election cycle, there was evidence that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats kind of colluded to make sure that Bernie Sanders didn't get the nomination, right? So they thought that since he was so far left, they wouldn't be able to get enough votes to beat Trump. And so they made kind of an executive decision to sway some things Hillary's way, even though the popular vote might have been on Bernie's side. Of course, that didn't work out for them. But this year, there's a lot of talk about that might happen again. And so at the Iowa caucuses, there was this app that they had just started using this year to count the people at the different places. So the Iowa caucuses are this really weird thing where you get people together, you get them all, they all choose which candidate they want to support, and then if they're below 10% of the people, all of those people from that candidate would have to go somewhere else. So for example, if Joe Biden had 8% of the people at the Des Moines caucus, and they'd all have to go to either like Warren or Buttigieg, whoever's actually viable. But it's kind of a weird thing where at the end of that process, you go around, you have to count the votes, and they were putting it in the app and sending it in. And so the app crashed. So this is where the conspiracy theory starts. So I want to make it clear. I don't know if I believe this, but this is what the theory says. So first off, we got to talk about that. The company that made the app is called Shadow. It's
oh boy.
And so Shadow was paid $43,000 by Pete Buttigieg back in July to for some sort of, I can't remember what they described the actual investment as. I think it was described as an investment. So I mean, like, Pete Buttigieg gave some money to Shadow, and Shadow, their app, crashes. Immediately following the app crashing, Pete Buttigieg comes out and he claims victory in Iowa. So it takes forever.
What the heck?
App figured out. It took forever for them to get that app figured out, right? So I don't know if you guys know Ilhan Omar. She's a senator right now, or I can't remember. She's in the House, but she's a Sanders endorser, and she was calling out Buttigieg for this as well. And so people are worried that the Democratic Party and then Pete Buttigieg and all this are rigging it against Bernie Sanders again, because their eyewitness accounts from Iowa were that Sanders had more people at almost every event than Buttigieg. But in terms of the delegates, we come away with the final results. The two are tied.
God, you would have think they would have learned their lesson from last time.
It's interesting. It's interesting to talk about. I mean,
everybody hated Hillary, and they lost so bad because of it. And now they're doing the same. I don't hold it past them, you know?
If I'm being honest,
really
I don't
like
either.
doing this shady stuff. Who the heck is Pete Buttigieg? No one cares about this dude. Jesus Christ.
I honestly thought he was a pretender too when it came to the Democratic election before this caucus. He's made his name known here.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, we've seen what they've been doing to Andrew Yang. He's barely in any of the news things. He's getting fleshed out hardcore. So it's obvious they have their favorites. And it's so annoying that these people on the top think, oh, we know which one the people like, you know, instead of just listening to the people and letting them pick how it's supposed to work. They're like, oh, no, we know who you want to be the front running candidate. You want this guy, this white, boring, average guy that's going to lose every time because everybody hates him. But we think everybody likes him.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's frustrating. No. It's so frustrating.
Definitely one of those things where if I'm Bernie Sanders, I'm sighing and putting my hand on my forehead.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, you know, this guy has invested a lot of time, a lot of money, he's probably been stressing out quite a bit. And then to have something like this happen, like, it would definitely be frustrating if I'm Bernie Sanders. And I think if you're a Democrat, you're also pretty frustrated because you want to support your party, but at the same time, you're like, what the heck is going on? And you know what? It's hard to say what's going on.
It's hard to say what's going on. And, you know, Bernie Sanders, he was a good sport about it last time because he thought that it would be such a big deal if Trump became president. He immediately endorsed Hillary, was talking down that he got it rigged against him. And now at this point, Hillary has been calling out Bernie that he's not going to be a good candidate in this election cycle. So It's a lot of drama when you come to that in the Democratic side. Pete Buttigieg, though, he seems to be benefiting so far. However, the New Hampshire they have a primary, not a caucus, but New Hampshire's vote is going to be, I think, at the end of this week coming up. And theirs is not a caucus. They put in votes and we're going to know the results by that night. So still waiting to see what that says for some more real results, but definitely dramatic when it comes to the Democratic Party here.
Yeah, it's so messy and so confusing. I'm surprised that there's still this many candidates left because usually there's like this main front runner, you know, this obvious one. But I feel like right now there's a few like leading faces, but there's still a lot of stragglers. And like he's mentioned, I thought Pete Buttigieg was a straggler. I thought he was just going to, you know, let go and fade away. But if he's winning this, well, winning in quotation marks, what did you see in your research what this shadow company did before this? Do they make apps and stuff like that, or what do they do? What's their story?
I believe they do. I can do some more research on it, but I don't know the full extent of it.
Yeah, and I think I forget who I was watching, but they said like it was just very unfortunate that like in the last 5 years they decided to change their name to Shadow. Yeah, because that wasn't their original name, but like it becomes way more sketchy now that their name is this shadow company, and it's like it's funny, but at the same time it's like why, like in what, why would you ever name like something that develops apps for political companies? Why would you ever change your name to Shadow? It doesn't make any sense.
They really thought that was a good idea.
Yeah. We're in the shadows of the election. Yeah, that's rough. But it could very much be just bad timing, and Buttigieg won in a couple of spots that we were hearing a lot about. So I'm not sure if it's real or not, but it's definitely something that's interesting.
Yeah, that was a wonderful little conspiracy theory there. Very relevant, very topical. Thank you, Ben Kaysen, for
Welcome.
your insight. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a favorite game of ours.
Yes.
Fake news. Are you guys ready to be duped? Because I've got some doozies for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Here's a fact. I'm undupable. Jacob Sandwell tried to dupe me last week. Spoiler alert, you can go watch it. He did not dupe me last week. So,
Well,
good luck.
Ben might be undupable, but I'm indippable. Did y'all catch that?
Oh, I caught it. 100% Sandoval.
Okay, good.
I thought it was funny. I just didn't laugh.
Yeah. That's how most of my jokes go.
I like it.
So my stories are kind of all over the place. It's something crazy. So you guys are going to want to strap yourself in because these get a little bit intense. So the first story of the evening took place in the beautiful state of Florida. We all know the craziest things happen in Florida. So here we go. Brace yourself. A first grade teacher tried to buy an 8-ball of meth while at school. During one of her classes, she had a drug dealer walk into the class during a break and sell her an 8-ball of meth. And she is now facing felony drug charges.
Thank goodness it was during a break because those kids they shouldn't be seeing that kind of stuff.
The craziest thing was the 8-ball was $85 for meth. That's wild.
Well, I don't know the prices about meth, but
Me neither.
I don't know if that's a good price.
I don't
I
know.
think she needs a new dealer.
Was the 8-ball like hollowed out all the way, or was it just,
No, they put the
Little
put the 8-ball, put the meth around the 8-ball. They kind
Put it
of
on.
coat it.
they coated it?
Yeah, and then you suck on the pool ball.
Oh, I think this is the fake news for sure, JSB.
That's how it works.
I don't think you know what an 8-ball meth is.
You guys don't know.
Almost got me on that one. But that's definitely the fake news. We'll check out the other
Alrighty.
ones first.
Next one here, ladies and gentlemen.
You couldn't have given that away even if you tried.
Unless it's a strategy.
Now, see that last part, I just kind of added on. I was
Right.
adverbing.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see.
Find out. Tell us the other
Okay.
stories.
The next story here. A ghost hunter calls 911 after hearing an eerie cry for help in a graveyard. Now, this story happened in Pennsylvania, and there was a paranormal investigator who frantically called 911 after hearing a very, very mysterious cry for help in an old graveyard that's not used anymore in the Spring Hill community. Now, this voice was actually recorded. So the police were able to listen to the cry and help. And of course, they searched the whole entire graveyard. Nothing came up. Nothing was found. No signs of anyone else being in there. Of course, the ghost hunter was fined for being in the property at a very inappropriate time, as you should. Be very careful with your ghost hunting, people. But they heard this female voice screaming, "Help, help, I'm buried alive." That's freaky, if you ask me, ladies and gentlemen. But that is the second ghost story. What's your thoughts on that?
What did he record it on?
EVP recorder, digital voice recorder.
That's interesting.
Yeah, some spooky stuff going on in Pennsylvania graveyards.
And they could actually like make it out. Like the police were able to make out hearing that in the recorder.
Yes, they heard, and that's because they weren't going to search it right away. But after they listened to the recording, they went around tearing the graveyard apart looking for it.
Well, my first thoughts is that somebody maybe pranked the ghost hunter. I don't know.
I think
That's an
it
interesting
might
one.
have been one of those things where he might have pre-recorded it and just
That's
been
drama.
like, "Hey, this creepy thing's happening. Let me try to make it real. So my followers on YouTube.
I can get on the Voiced Opinion podcast if I do this.
Exactly.
It was me. I was the ghost hunter.
Oh,
It caught me.
How big was that
All right.
fine?
I don't want to talk about it. I had to sell my ghost hunting equipment. I lost my TV deal.
Oh no.
I was going to call my show Ghost Quest, The Quest for the Dead, Part 2.
really? What was part 1?
It was just some grave robbing stuff that we tried to do, but
Oh,
it wasn't very ethical.
oh, dude, ethics in TV. I didn't know that even was a thing.
Yeah, I guess a lot of Christian families still watch cable. Not
think
okay
that
with
one's
grave
real.
robbing.
I think that one's real. The more I think about it, I think that one's real.
All right. And the final fake news story of the night. A toy museum in Las Vegas was robbed, and a complete collection of vintage Kenner Star Wars figures were stolen. Now, this breaks my heart. This breaks my heart, but this is the worst part, ladies and gentlemen. A super rare rocket firing Boba Fett, valued at over $50,000, was also stolen in the horrible heist. That's what I'm calling this. The horrible heist. The toys were later found on eBay, and the seller was quickly arrested. That upset me greatly because I tried my hardest to find these Kenner Star Wars toys. And this guy just goes into this beautiful museum preserving these pieces of history, and he just takes them. Talk about an awful museum heist.
No.
What's your thoughts on that story, my friends?
See, this is the thing. JSB is really into, Star Wars memorabilia, and I definitely think he would be looking up, what was it? Boba Fett, rocket shooting Boba Fett?
Yeah, and seen the article.
And seeing the article. But I also think he would be smart enough to make this weird news story about somebody taking this stuff. But then the thing is, I think he would have put a twist on it and he wouldn't have gotten caught. So I think this is a real story because the guy did get caught because he did the obviously dumb thing and posted on the toys on sale on eBay. So I think this is a real story.
I'm feeling like this is a real story as well. I think this is something that happens a lot, actually. Just people breaking in and stealing stuff. I don't know. I feel like a lot of these are very palpable stories. All three of them, JSB.
Yeah, I went for the little more realistic stories this time to kind of get you guys tricked.
Well, so I'm going to say that the fake news. So obviously, we're playing 2 of them are real, 1 of them is fake. So I think that the fake news, my vote, is still going to be that the 8-ball story is fake.
Okay.
I think that's my gut. That's what it's telling me. My fake news alarm is saying that's not what's happening. She's not sucking the heroin off of the ball. I'll take that one.
You don't believe in the drugs?
See, this is the thing. I think the Florida thing is real. Definitely sounds like a real Florida person would do that. It's unfortunate that it was a teacher, but hey, some people get their kicks in different ways.
So you think that one's real?
That one's real, I think. I think if there was any kind of state that would happen in, it would be in Florida. And what was the middle one?
The ghost hunter calling 911 after hearing somebody cry.
That is fake because there's no way he would hear that and not try to find it out himself. Because my whole thing is, at first he'd be like, oh, there's no way this is real. And then if he thinks it is real, he would definitely be like, we got to get this on camera. We got to go save her. I don't think he's calling 911. I think that's the fake one.
All right. Final locks, everybody.
I'm locked.
Ladies and gentlemen, you both were wrong.
No.
Nobody. Here's the best part. The rocket firing Boba Fett never existed. It was they never made it.
They never made like a little thing where you
rocket
put
out his back.
Yeah, and just press a button and it launches.
No, because the Stargate toys that they had something that did that, and the kid choked and died on it.
Oh,
So they couldn't make it. They canceled it. So that was the tell. And ladies and gentlemen, you both got it wrong. There was a teacher that bought an 8-ball of meth while teaching the class. It happened at 11 in the morning.
Oh gosh!
And man, you can tell.
Story.
You can see her picture, and boy, you can tell. Ooh, it's rough.
Dang.
And the ghost story is true too. The police went and checked out the Pennsylvania graveyard, and they did not find anything.
But they have the recording then from that? That's insane.
They do, and the recording says, "Let me see. Help! Help! I'm buried alive." It's a female voice screaming, which is
interesting.
Pretty darn creepy, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's
ghosts. They're out there. Well, we don't have to get into that discussion, but ghosts, sick.
Ghosts.
So you both were duped. What are your thoughts? Let me hear your thoughts of getting tricked by the undupable JSB.
I thought I was undupable, but JSB, you did that little slip up. I thought where you were like making up something crazy with the first story. I think it was a ploy to get me to lose. So good on you, my friend.
You know me, I've got them tricks up my sleeve.
I'll get you back next week.
Oh, I bet you will, Ben. I bet you will.
Yeah, those are great stories.
Mm-hmm.
I was for sure, I 100% thought that there's that would be a big draw, like a rocket Boba Fett, because that was like one of the big things in the movies is him having the rocket on his back and just shooting it off at Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's funny. There's a lot of rumors that a lot of kids remember having this super elusive rocket firing Boba Fett, but it was never ever put on the market, so it was impossible for them to have it.
Dang.
I think I remember now that the one that I had as a kid, actually, like you could pull the rocket up a little bit, but it wouldn't come out of his jetpack. So I suppose you're right.
Yep, they had to glue it in. Very dangerous.
Wow. You got
a lethal weapon in several different countries. Now, it's time for my favorite part of our amazing podcast, and that is the rant of the day. It is so much fun to just come on here and complain your little hearts out. Now, friends, do any of you want to go first? Is anything bugging you so bad that you just got to speak your mind, speak your truths?
I'll go first. Yeah, I'll go first. So I don't know if any of you guys saw the movie Uncut Gems. Did either of you see that?
I did not, but I wanted to.
It was with Adam Sandler. So he was a guy who's addicted to gambling. He has this collection of gems. He's trading these gems and diamonds and stuff like this. So he kind of gets in trouble with the sharks and has trouble, and he's trying to break his way out and gambles more. And it's just a really sad movie where it just falls further and further down. But as a movie, I thought it was just incredible. The movie itself didn't get a single Oscar nomination, and Adam Sandler didn't get nominated for Best Actor, which I know what you're saying if you hadn't seen the movie. Adam Sandler's not a Best Actor material. I mean, have you seen Grown Ups 2? Yeah, I get it. But in that movie,
Jack and Jill?
Yeah, let's just stop with that. But in this movie, he actually exemplified that character incredibly, played him seriously, and showed his range as an actor, which I didn't think existed before this year. So I think he deserved, at the very least, to be considered. Again, like the argument you were saying earlier, which guy gets pulled out, that's tough. But I think that I
think you do Jonathan Pierce for the Two Popes.
Yeah, Price. I would say Price or Antonio Banderas, either one. I think that what I saw from Sandler, he deserves to be up there, be considered, or even get the Oscar. I mean, I'm telling you, if you watch that movie, you'll be surprised at just how well he does getting into the character. The movie itself is jarring, and it's one of my favorites from the year. And I think that was a major snub. Major snub.
Okay, that was feisty there. Mr. Ben Kaysen.
I love Adam Sandler.
I know you're going.
Waterboy was robbed for Best Picture.
Jack and Jill, never forget, man. I don't think I can forgive him for that movie.
Yeah, that's okay. It's like if you've got time to watch that movie, you should go check it out. It's interesting.
I think I'll check it out because I heard a lot of good things about it. I heard everybody was kind of surprised at his performance.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Sandoval, do you have something or do you want me to go first?
I got something. I'm going to take it back to the Oscars like Ben. And this one, I'm extremely passionate about because it makes zero sense. The Oscar for costume design went to Little Women. Have you guys seen any of the Little Women? The movies, the 5 million movies that are out there based off of the book Little Women?
I haven't.
I watched the one this year. The costume design was okay.
All the costumes are the same.
Yeah, old-timey costumes.
Old-timey. You can go to any photographer. They probably have one of those sets in the back that, you guys want to take a family picture where you guys look like a family from the 1950s? Well, come on to the back. Anybody
we have that at the Colorado State Fair.
Anybody can get those costumes. Anybody can put them on. Anybody can rock them. Anybody can wear them. To me, this is a snub for every other person who is nominated. Because if there was any movie that I didn't think was going to get this award, it was definitely going to be Little Women, because it's such a simple costume that they have to develop. And, there's no real complexity. When I look at all the other films that got nominated, I think The Irishman is another one where it's super simple. They shouldn't have been nominated, or they shouldn't have gotten an Oscar. But The Joker, I think a lot of people had to think about, how do we want that Joker costume to come out? How do we want the people of Gotham to look like? Are they going to look like bums from today, or are they going to look like the people of, I think this actual movie was set in like the 60s, sorry, not 16, but the 1960s. And, it had a kind of look, but like every piece of that costume that Joaquin Phoenix had to wear as the Joker, whether he was the actual clown or he was just his normal self, or when he became the Joker, I think that was very, very interesting and made the movie what it was. And then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think the colors in that movie are great. And like just Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio's costumes alone, I would say were probably the most interesting and most developed costumes in the whole entire series, or movie selection this year. Because, I think they did a great job picking out what they wore for the time, and then also like kind of portrayed their personality, especially. And then you got to think about they're in the acting scenes where they're acting within acting.
Yeah. And
they have to develop costumes for that. And it's so much more intricate than this Little Women movie, where it's just really old-timey clothes that, if you go to any antique shop, might have a couple of these dresses in the back that nobody's going to buy.
Yeah, I just Googled some pictures of it, and the costumes are pretty darn boring, if you ask me.
And it's crazy to me.
That one best costume.
Yeah, best 1800s costumes. Yeah. There were some interesting colors at the very least, but yeah, I agree with you. Colors. Specifically like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well. You forget they also had to design a perfect costume for like Bruce Lee and all of these other, people who actually existed, that they're trying to build that costume. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Alrighty. That was a wonderful rant of the day. Thank you very much for your input there, Sandoval.
Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm coming at you with something that we've all experienced at some point in our life. Whether you're at a flea market, browsing the wonderful pages of Craigslist and eBay, or maybe even at a local yard sale. It's when somebody thinks their pieces of junk are worth so much money. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got a news flash for you. It ain't worth nothing. Now, this happened to me the other day when I was at our local flea market. I frequent the place a lot to look for some good deals on some vintage action figures. A lot of kids, toss their stuff. They don't think they want anything. And I'm always on the hunt for some cool Star Wars toys, especially of one of my favorite characters, Boba Fett. So I go up to this there's this big tent. And this guy I have all these cool action figures. I go up to him. And he has what some of you may know as the Power of the Force Boba Fett. Now, little history on this little toy here. So after the first wave of Star Wars toys were super, super popular, Kenner decided to make another wave of Star Wars toys to come out with the Phantom Menace coming out. So they made a ton of these figures. They overproduced the figures. And for some reason, they made all the characters look like they were super buff, like they were professional wrestlers.
I remember
they were very strange looking. You'd have like Luke Skywalker with these giant pecs and an 8-pack. They don't look like that in the movie. But so they got all of these figures that pour in. So they're probably worth like $5 to $10 at the most, brand new in the box. So I go up to this guy and I'm like, hey, do you have any Boba Fetts? And he's like, oh, yeah, we have this really, really cool vintage one. I was like, oh, awesome. I'm looking for the vintage Boba Fett, like the original one. Sweet. He pulls out this buff-looking, fake Boba Fett-looking character with half of his paint rubbed off. Horrible condition. He's like, I'll give it to you for $20. I about slapped him in the face. And burned down his tent for disrespecting my time, my wallet, and my favorite character by putting this expensive price on such of a horrible action figure. Now, we see this happening all the time at yard sales when people think their copy of Madden 08 is worth $20 for the PlayStation 2. Ladies and gentlemen.
Good point.
Ladies and gentlemen, Madden, anything with a Madden in it that's not the current year is worth less than $5.
But I bought it for $60.
I want $49 for it. My goodness. Now, just a quick input. Have you two experienced this? Ben, have you ever went looking for a Magic card and you see people charging $20 for a land?
So here's the thing. I've just gotten into Magic lately. I haven't really experienced that much with Magic, but with baseball cards, you get this all the time where people think that their baseball cards are worth like an insane amount of money. Here's the thing. I also think that my baseball cards are worth a lot of money. So I understand that I've fallen into that same trap. But I mean, like, you'll get people who've bent their cards in half or stuff like this, where it's just there's clearly water damage and they're trying to sell it to you for higher prices. And I get it that, here's the thing with these collectors and the way that they're selling these, the people that are like you or like me for baseball cards are actually informed consumers. They come, what do you think? 1 out of every 10 who come to that tent. So they're trying to find that one fool who will give them $20 for that Boba Fett. And I bet you he found somebody to do it.
He probably did.
And that's how he makes his money. But the thing is, for somebody like me and for you, when it comes to this, I'm not interested in doing that because I know that, you're trying to rip me off. I'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that big of a deal because they're just trying to make money. And whenever I'm getting rid of these cards, I'm going to want to do the same thing.
I think a lot of people just fall into the exact thing Ben was talking about is they see something and somebody tells them, oh, it's vintage. And it's especially the Power of the Force ones, because I did see a Luke Skywalker where he was just like, he looked like he was if Arnold Schwarzenegger played Luke Skywalker. That's how buff he was.
They're so weird.
And it's like, really, that's not a super nice piece to have. Like, it's cool if you're that kind of collector, but really it's not a very valuable piece to have. But to me, I think a lot of people see that and they're like, oh, it's unique. Like, people are going to see this and they're going to be like, oh, wow, that must be really expensive. In all reality, it's not. And you can probably get it for, like you're saying, like $5 or less online, or like at a store that actually knows the prices of these individual action figures. And I think that happens a lot, where people see something that looks vintage and then they realize, oh, there's a lot of these out here and it's actually not a super popular toy.
Yeah, I mean, like young moron Ben, whenever I was buying baseball cards and football cards, I've had some stories of cards that I bought that I was like, these are really awesome. I paid a good amount for them, and I look them up like, wow, that's embarrassing. Like I paid, I think $35 for a Isaiah Thomas rookie card, from the Pistons. No. So I was like, okay, this is a great purchase, because I knew that the Isaiah Thomas card is worth about $100. So I was like, okay, big deal. I'm awesome. And I get home and I look it up, and the card I had bought was a replica that was worth 10 cents.
Oh,
oh no.
And for a 14-year-old Ben, that was devastating. Yeah. So I ripped the card in half.
No.
Oh, no.
I did. I was upset. So that stuff happens. You just have to be smart with it. Like I also bought like a Jerome Bettis card that was worth like nothing for $20 one time. It's just what happens with collecting. You just need to be aware and not buy into that foolishness.
Yeah, you're right. It's just frustrating that these people just try to rip others off. I just get super annoyed at that. That like, man, you're really trying to take advantage of this poor kid who doesn't know what he's talking about. Drives me crazy. But hey, that's the way the world works, folks. That's the way the world works. So
capitalism.
Next time you go out, make sure you know what you're buying. Make sure you know the value. Do some research, my friends. But that will do it for this episode of The Voiced Opinion. Thank you very much for stopping and spending your time here with us three crazy kids here on this crazy podcast. Any closing thoughts from you, my friends?
Make sure that your milk is worth as much as you're saying. You might be getting ripped off. Joaquin Phoenix told me to tell you guys that.
Little Women, good movie. Not a lot of good costume design.
Not a fan.
Not a fan.
All righty. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you check out all of our other amazing podcasts. We have an amazing sports show with Jacob and Ben, where they discuss the Super Bowl, and I'm sure they're going to have some awesome topics coming up within the world of sports. So make sure you do that. Subscribe to our channels. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and all the social medias. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching once again. And this is the end.
Bye.